Happy Friday the 13th, everyone. You're on an all-new segment of The Final Cut. It's been a while since I've gone over a horror film on my channel, and on this day, I thought I'd go over Friday the 13th Part 2. It's a sequel to the smash hit from 1980, Friday the 13th, and this came out in 1981, but story-wise, it takes place 5 years after the original. And it pretty much picks up where the other one left off. We start with a character that survived in the original film, and she's having a normal life in the city. We have this dream sequence that pretty much recaps all the events from her perspective in the first Friday the 13th. We discover there's someone there. Mrs. Voorhees got killed in the original, but we discover that her son, Jason, lives. And it's such a brilliant opening. I love the music in this film. I love the use of point of view shots. But what makes it is his introduction of just his feet and legs shown. And that's actually a woman's legs. That's actually the costume designer. They used a double for that scene. And it's such a brilliant opening. It really hooks you in for a horror film. And you think everything is fine. No. He ties up all loose ends. And then we're introduced to a new group of kids at the camp. They're not allowed to go near the area of the first film because of all the murders that happened. And Jason's almost like this urban legend now. He's this myth that goes around campsites of like, hey, there once was a boy who was just deformed and they bullied him and he drowned. And Mrs. Voorhees went on a killing spree. So he's almost like larger than life in that regard. The thing is, he survived this whole time, and he's targeting a new group of children for Mother. And I actually like this film over the first film. It lives up to the first film. There's some pros and cons. The first one I thought was great with Mrs. Voorhees, and I also think it had more gore and more action in that regard as far as the killings for a horror film. But you can definitely tell that it was an independent movie, and this one kind of upped the ante with the way it looks. Just the way this film is shot, it has a bigger scope, a larger scope than the original film. We also had a sequel to Halloween at this point, and other slasher films were up and about, but we haven't had Jason yet. This is the first one to have Jason, but he wears a bag over his head. He doesn't have the hockey mask yet. But I love it because we don't really see Jason until the third final act. We mostly see him through point of view shots or legs walking, and I love that. It builds suspense, and you don't know whether he's there or not. It's one of those things that great horror films do in which they tell more, they show more without showing anything. Your imagination makes things worse, and that's one thing that this film does. But also, a lot of it had to be cut down. Well, not really. About 46 seconds had to be cut down, just here and there, to avoid an X rating. It was rated R, and I like the group of kids here. Nobody's going to be that memorable. I mean, they're all going to be fodder anyway. They're all going to be just meat for Jason to kill, but I like the characters in this. They're much more sympathetic. They're much more relatable in this installment than the last one. We have Emmy still as Jenny, and sometimes I kind of wish when they're in situations that they would both fight Jason. It's kind of that damsel in distress and let the jock boyfriend beat him up, and I'm like, you two could just tag team him and just beat the shit out of him. You don't do that. But Jason does surprise you at moments, and I love it. Oh my gosh. One of my favorite people in the movie was the wheelchair kid. Mark and Vicky, played by Tom McBride and Lauren Marie Taylor. They were great. It was kind of really messed up and sad that they died, but you had that famous sex scene in which he basically pushes a spear through them, and there's supposed to be full frontal nudity on both of them, but the actress was actually underage, so Paramount deleted the footage. But you can check the video game out. Yeah, and it's actually a really well done movie. Steve Miner directed this film. He also did Part 3, and I love it. He later on would do films like Forever Young and Halloween H2O. And he definitely knows how to do horror. He definitely knows how to mix timing, music. I love the edit where the guy's hanging and the woman finds him, and you hear the sound of her screaming to an electric guitar. It like cuts. It has an L cut, and I love that scene. Just the way it's shot, everything about this has a certain quality to it, but the story is a much more tight-knit story than the original. The original one, of course, they always just make out as more of an independent kind of like 70s movie. But I do miss Mrs. Voorhees, but oh wow, Jason is far more intimidating. He's a threat. But a couple of the cast members from the other films kind of said, hey, it's a bit convoluted that Jason was alive this whole time. You could have just told Mrs. Voorhees, hey mom, I'm alive. But it's kind of tragic in a way. And oh my god, her head kept in his shack. It's just insane. Originally, the ending was going to have her come to life and smile, but they thought it was too cheesy. I don't know. Just that head alone is creepy. And the actress who played Mrs. Voorhees came in to do a quick cameo with a black screen on that part. But I do love it when Jason is finally revealed. He has this cool look to him and he's threatening, and that final fight is action-packed. The chainsaw, wow. So as a horror film, it is an improvement over the original, but there's some things I do like in the original better. It measures up to it and kind of surpasses it in some small way, but ultimately it starts the legend of Jason. And I give it a 4 out of 5. I really like the sequel. It's not every day that we get a really good sequel that either lives up or surpasses the original, and Friday the 13th Part 2 is one of those rare sequels that's actually good. Compared to stuff like Halloween 2 or Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Friday the 13th Part 2 is actually a good sequel for a second film, and that is a rare sight. That's a rarity and a real testament to this franchise. And remember the rules on Friday the 13th. Yes, remember those rules, kids. Remember them. Anyway, if you have seen Friday the 13th Part 2, let me know your thoughts on the film, and let me know which Friday the 13th film is your favorite. That is all today. I hope everybody has a great Friday the 13th. Till next time.